接下来我们将欢迎一位比较特殊的一个来宾 Kristin Shim，在 YouTube 上的频道名称他的韩国名字是 Hoju，他是一位22岁的韩裔美国人，他在社交媒体上记录了自己的日常生活，并接受并拥抱自己真实的一面。他的内容包括我一周内吃什么、K-pop 音乐视频反应和大学生的一天等。So now we have a special guest joining us. Let's welcome Kristin Shim. Kristin Shim is a 22-year-old Korean American YouTuber that strives to capture her day-to-day life as she embraces her authentic self. Her content consists of what I eat in a week, or K-pop musical video reactions, or even her life as a college student. You can find her YouTube channel as Hoju. She will talk about her journey to embrace her identity as a Korean American. Let's welcome her. Yeah, now you can talk.
Okay, great. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be a part of this diaspora. So today I'll just be sharing a little bit about my story as a Korean American growing up in the States. And before that, I guess I'll just introduce myself briefly in the present. I was mentioned earlier very kindly, so thank you for the introduction, but I'm 22 years old. I currently live in California. I make YouTube content, so I've actually been making videos ever since I was 7 or 8 years old. So I've been making videos for over 14 years now, and I've been able to make them all throughout while I was living in Minnesota, which I will touch base on, and then also continuously up until now. I'm taking a gap year, but I currently attend USC, University of Southern California, but I'll be returning back in the fall. So yeah, with that being said, let's just kind of go back into my childhood. I was definitely not proud of being a Korean American growing up, considering I lived in a state known as Minnesota. There's a lot of snow there. There's also a lot of predominantly white people. I was always the only Korean in my classroom, and I was definitely one of the 2 or 3 other Asians in our class. And so I definitely didn't feel like I belonged. And if anything, I constantly just wanted to fit in with all the other people that looked like they were pretty. And what I thought was pretty was blonde, blue-eyed, or brunette hair and blue eyes, or lighter brown eyes. I was very envious of the way they looked, the way they were raised, the way they even smelled. I would go to their houses and I was like, oh, it doesn't smell like fish, or it doesn't smell like soybean paste stew. It smells like burgers. It smells like hot dogs. And them being able to eat cookies for snacks, and I'm eating, just like random Asian snacks that I think that they would make fun of me for. So it was definitely a hard time of me trying to navigate what my identity was, just because I was definitely surrounded by people that were just considered Americans. And so I, as a Korean American and Asian American, would always kind of have self-deprecating humor. I would definitely make racist jokes towards myself. So just in case they were to make fun of me for my appearance, I would already say it prior to them. So that was really hard on me, because I guess, you can tell that I was very insecure of the way I was, and I didn't want anyone to hurt me first. So I was always keeping my guard up, and I was always trying to be like the class clown. I was like, if I'm going to look different, I might as well just be funny. So, or considered funny in their ways or in their opinion. So, yeah, I think being a Korean American, Asian American in a very white state had challenged me a lot. And I was always ashamed of speaking Korean in front of my friends. I was always trying to just make sure that to them I was whitewashed as much as possible. But luckily, I was able to move to California in summer 2011, which was 10 years ago. And after that one time of moving here up until now, it has been such an amazing journey. Moving to California is completely different, considering, as I mentioned earlier, the snow in Minnesota. It was so cold. Luckily, I loved sledding and I loved ice skating and having all the great little child winterhood memories. But I feel like the huge shift in my identity came along in the hot, lovely, consistent, great weather of California. And not just because of the weather, but definitely because of the people around me. I came here when I was going into my 7th grade year of middle school. And I noticed that there were a lot more Asians around me. And I was like, this is so weird. I used to only see Asians or Koreans at the church on Sundays because we would go out of our way as a family, like 30-minute drive on Sundays, just to feel like we are part of a community. But the fact that there were people at my school that looked like me, the fact that I was hearing Korean on like my left and right ear as I'd be walking to class, because certain people would just speak to each other like it's no big deal, or speak in Chinese or any other Asian language. I was like, you don't do that. Like, I was just so shell shocked, and I felt so unaware that people here can just really appreciate their culture and they just embrace it in any way possible. And this one girl in my friend group, I was actually really, really lucky to know, and I feel like she was also a huge part of my identity. She was the perfect blonde, blue-eyed girl that I dreamt of being when I was younger, but she actually loved K-pop, and she also loved Korean food. And so she actually ended up bringing kimbap and bulgogi to class and for lunch. And we'd be sitting with my other Asian friends around, and I was just so confused. I was like, you're like the perfect girl. Like, why are you trying to eat the things that I thought you guys would be scared of? Or why are you trying to listen to the music that I would always hide behind my ears and not share that to my friends? Like, what is going on? And so after I met that one friend, I started to realize, like, hey, being a Korean and being Asian is actually really cool. And there's a lot of people around me that have been embracing it. So why shouldn't I? And I also realized too that I really loved getting to know other people's cultures as well. Um, every time I would have another friend that was Chinese or Japanese or Taiwanese or Indian or African American, I would love to learn about how they were raised and what are certain traditions or little things that they do in their culture that makes them feel so special and makes them stand out. And I realized that me being able to share my Korean culture and my identity is not that different. And so I'm very lucky that now I'm at a place where I can really embrace my Korean American identity. I used to hide it a lot also on my YouTube channel. I wanted to be the perfect YouTuber that was the beauty guru that knew what she was doing. I thought, like, if I could be on the camera and I could kind of fake that I was just fully American and never show my Korean side, then maybe I'd be considered cool. But luckily over the years, I've now actually been able to be so proud enough of my identity to show music video reactions that are all K-pop. And I can actually tell that to my friends too. Or when I film what I eat in a week, the videos of just me showing what I literally eat every single day, I totally would have been so ashamed of showing that on the screen if I was younger, back like 10 years ago maybe. But now I'm so thankful that there are so many people out there that are like, how does your mom make such lovely food? How does she do that? It looks so delicious. I want to try it one day. Hearing those comments make me feel so encouraged to keep on embracing my culture, because I know that there are so many people out there that could still feel really ashamed of themselves. And so now I'm very proud of being able to showcase what I eat, what I listen to. I love watching Korean dramas. So also being able to showcase that on all my social media platforms has been really, really fun. And I think that through that, I've also been able to develop really great connections with other people as well. And we can all just really stand together and be proud of who we are, regardless of what we may look like on the outside. So I'm very thankful that I've come a long way to be able to deal with hardships, because I have a story to share, and I'm so lucky to be here to be able to state even a little portion of my life. But yeah, I'm standing here so proud to say that I'm no longer trying to separate my Korean and my American identity. I'm so proud to say that I am fully Korean American. So yeah, that's a little bit about my story. Thank you guys so much. And if you guys have any questions, I know that they had said earlier that you can feel free to leave them in the chat box below, but that's a little bit about me.
Wow, I am, I don't know, shocked, or like even I really admire you, because I do feel like the same. Like even though I came here like after high school, I just came here for university. But like when I firstly came here, I tried to fit in so hard. Like I was literally trying like really hard to work on my accent. I was trying to get rid of it. And also,
Oh,
I
yes.
really, really admire you because you accepted the fact that you are ashamed of it. Like, right, like I feel like a lot of people, they try to hide their like Asian part, and they
Yeah.
also like, I guess they are not as brave as you are to admit that I was actually ashamed of it. Like the rest of them, I feel like a lot of people will like fake or like, I guess like do whatever. But I really admire you that you can embrace yourself and admit that you were actually ashamed of your culture. But now like it turned into like a great, I guess, like life now. Like you accepting both your Korean side and American side. I found that's quite inspirational. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And can I actually ask how you pronounce your name?
Zexi.
Zexi. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you so
But
much
I
for
guess in Chinese it's Zexi, but yeah, it's Zexi, I guess. In English.
Zushi.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, awesome. Thank you so much for introducing me earlier. I was like, oh, I don't know how to say his name. So I was just like, thank you for
Oh,
introducing
no
me.
worries. Like, yeah, it's
Okay,
okay.
great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So is there anyone has like any questions wants to ask Kristin?
Actually, I have a question for Kristin. It's gonna be pretty quick. So, I actually watched your video on YouTube for like how you grew up as like a Korean American. I think in that video you described like a situation. I found it's like sad and funny at the same time. Like you like in your high school you encountered this like discomfort like situation, but your high school guard was driving the golf car over and kind of like help you with it. Can you
Yeah.
briefly like I think that's kind of like sorry in a good and bad way because like the people who are being racist obviously is like the traumatized part for you, but also you found people can really help you like in different ways like like that. I think that's a kind of mixed feeling.
Yeah, no, definitely. So what Kelly was mentioning was actually there was a part in my high school journey when I was very racially targeted after I accidentally bumped into this one guy's car. And this man was also people of color. So that was also what stuck out to me too, because he actually racially targeted me as I backed up into, I like was backing up from the parking lot and he was coming by. So I accidentally bumped him from the back. And so he came out of the car and he was like, of course, it's an effing Asian. And I was like, no, like you can't do that to me. Like all of my life, I would always be the one first to like say those racial jokes. But there's actually someone out there that just made this racial stereotype comment to me directly to my face, even after a car accident. And so I was just bawling, but I was so lucky that during that time, there was one of our security guards that he was driving around the golf cart just to make sure everyone in the parking spots were all safe. And I was actually really close to him at that time too. So he came over and he calmed me down. He also calmed the man down too. It was so great because even though I did feel at one point like really ashamed in that moment for being an Asian and for being someone that could be known as someone that's a bad driver, which I don't think I am, by the way. That was just a very plain accident. But yeah, he was just someone that really embraced me and was able to just welcome me with open arms and support me in any way that he can. And he was actually white. So I was just like, it's a crazy turn of events, very mixed emotions, but I do think that that was a crucial part of me being able to really embrace me and continue to, yeah, just find myself and accept myself.
Yeah, like I think there's one question we kind of mentioned in the like morning session is that like when we Asian make some like kind of like jokes about ourselves, like some like kind of racial jokes, um, it should be okay. But the things like I think you mentioned in your speech, are you making those joke out of like insecurity, or are you just thinking that's not that's just okay? I think the like the reason you're making those jokes with your folks, like why is that? You have to understand it. Do you agree with that?
I'm sorry, could you say the question one more time?
Oh yeah, because in the speech earlier you mentioned that when you were little, like you always make jokes about yourself, like express your race because you think you don't want other people to attack you because of your insecurity inside. So you're making those jokes. So I think that's the thing. Like we as an Asian, yes, we can make jokes about ourselves, but we have to know what's like the reason behind it. Are we making those jokes out of insecurity, or are we just thinking that's okay?
Yeah, no, I think it was definitely out of insecurity. And also just because I felt like I was definitely someone that stood out already based on my external appearance, that I just wanted to at least be considered like the class clown. Just make jokes that I thought a white person would think was funny, because I knew outside, coming from their perspective, they could target anyone else that is a people of color and just say some snarky joke at them, that I thought that if I said it too, because I was also insecure of my eyes, and that when they would smile, sometimes it would look like they're closed. So I would make that joke first. Like if I'd be laughing, like, like, guys, like I can't tell, like, are my eyes open or are they not? And they would laugh even more. And I was like, oh, okay, at least like they think I'm funny, and like at least I could be their friend. It's definitely like a little mix of what you had just said. Like, is it because of insecurity, or is it just because, just overall, like, I don't know. Like, I really don't know what was the main reasoning behind it all, but I just thought, if there is someone that's going to hurt me, it might as well just be me, instead of someone else.
Yeah, I understand. I think there's a question from our audience. Zesi,
Sure.
can you present that for us? Like
Okay,
from
sure.
Jinshi.
Okay, yeah, sure. So what will be the sentence that you want, like, or wanted to share with your younger self 10 years ago about identity?
There's so many things that I wish I could tell how old was I? Like 12-year-old self. But I'd probably just say, like, stand up, be proud, and don't try to hide yourself. It's funny because I think that is like an analogy or like a metaphor, because I always was like out there. Like I was very bubbly. I was always super extroverted, but I would never be extroverted about this one part of my identity. And I think my 10 years ago identity was hiding that part of me, but I wish I would be able to just embrace every part of me, instead of trying to like make myself, like, instead of like just trying to be aware of someone, like as Kristin, like the very extroverted, bubbly girl. I wish I could have also been known as like the extroverted, really bubbly Korean girl that was able to just share every part of herself, regardless of what people may think of me. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I guess I do also have like just out of curiosity, like, so I guess based on your life, starting from like when you were little, then at which point you started to realize you want to, or like you want to accept your Korean part, or like, yeah, like at what point you realized that, or like what made you realize that? Was it just because like as you are growing like older, then like you're just getting more mature, and yeah?
I think it's definitely, as I had said earlier, that one girl that was blonde and blue-eyed. She was someone that was like a huge wake-up call to me. I was like, who is this girl? And why is she being so proud of the identity that I was always trying to hide? And so she was one person that made me reflect deep about myself, and that I should really stand proud and stand tall of my overall American Korean identity. But also throughout that process, I started realizing that I should be really proud, because I was actually attending church at that time, and that church was an all Korean Native and Korean American church as well. And there were girls and guys that were all super cool, and they were all being able to speak Korean and English to each other. And I was like, guys, like I only speak Korean at home. Like, what are you guys doing? Like, again, like super confused. But as I continued to really develop great connections with these people, I started realizing like, hey, they've been so proud of who they have been, because they've lived in California their whole lives, that I think I should also be able to integrate myself into this safe space, knowing that they also welcome me with open arms. And with that, it started translating over to every person of color, or even the white people around me. I just realized I shouldn't have to play a fully Korean role only in this friend group, and then a fully American role in this other friend group. It's so tiring, you know? So I just started to realize, just do you, and like, don't try to think twice about anything of who you are and how you should act. Yeah, just be you, and the people that will accept you and love you.
Wow, like well said. Yeah, well said. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I hope everyone can, I guess, learn a lesson from Kristin. And yeah, like, don't be ashamed of who you are, just be yourself. Yeah, that's like the greatest message. Okay, so I guess if everyone likes her, Kristin, please follow her on YouTube as her name I think is Kristin Shim now, right?
Yeah.
So feel free to follow her and watch her YouTube channel. She will have like I guess more videos about yourself or like daily life stuff like that.
Yes, thank you so much. You can also find me just at Kristin Shim, no space, on Instagram if you'd like to follow me there too. But yes, it's been such a pleasure, Zexi and Kelly and everyone here. Thank you so much to True Youth for having me. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your conference and great weekend.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye now.
Bye.